Just a few months ago, we didn't think we'd be captured. Well, we'd be captured, but not for history. We got the word that Noble Charter Network was coming to Rogers Park, and they wanted to settle in St. Jerome's. And when I first heard that, and when other people first heard that, it was like, is the ink dry yet, you know, between the Archdiocese and Noble, and the alderman is not opposing this, and it's a done deal, and so why even bother take the time? Why take the time to fight against them? And that was pretty much the prevailing, now you wouldn't know it, but that was the prevailing feeling just a couple months ago. But, and there's always a but in Rogers Park. Yes, yes there is. There were people willing to do stuff. Okay, first came the online petition. Then came the Facebook page. Then came our own website. You know, pretty soon it's like our own nation state here that we've got. Okay, we're going to do that next. Then every single neighborhood school in Rogers Park passed and signed resolutions and letters. Every one of them. So sometimes we're asked, do we have parents involved? What are LSCs but elected parents representing all the other parents of our neighborhood, and they were the ones who got it passed. Then, as if that wasn't enough, our elected officials stepped in, and boy, did they step in. And that in particular is Jan Schakowsky, who's here already. And Kelly Cassidy, who will be here shortly. Please. And they spoke with the mayor's office. They spoke with CPS. They gave Mike Milkey an earful at Noble, an earful directly, not through a secretary, but directly, and said it will not come here. And it didn't. Okay? And then we had, and I hope everybody picked up the letter over there. That's Jan in her office put together this amazing letter and then got 11 other elected officials to sign on, and including Heather Staines, who couldn't make it tonight. She's on the program. She was making time for it, and then she had a family emergency. You can look at the signatures, and it's David Orr and Larry Suffredin and Powar and a whole bunch of them, and it just made such a difference. So, of course, we couldn't have done this at the same time unless we had something to protect. I mean, if we weren't protecting anything, then who cares what comes in? But we do have something to protect, and that's Sullivan High School. And Chad Adams is here, the principal of Sullivan. Also is Jean Papagiannis, the principal of Kilmer. We have Carlos Patino, who's going to be speaking to us in a moment from Newfield School. And we have a special guest, and I have to say it right, Anna Pavicevic. Close enough? Okay, and then you're just saying that. You're just saying that. And she is our guest today, and she is the principal of Amundsen. And for those of you who are ready to rumble a little bit more after this, I want you to know that Intrinsic is planning on, they have their sights set very close to Amundsen, over in Rose Hill Cemetery, want to set up a 1,000-seat charter high school. And this is going to be going on for the summer, and any way you can join in, we're going to be talking about that too. Okay, what now? What now? We had this forum planned a while ago because we wanted to show Noble that they were not coming here. And so since we had a plan, and we had the room reserved, and then the hockey game came in, and then we changed the time, and then everything, and then it started to rain, but then we said we're going to go ahead with it anyway because we want to celebrate, and we want to enjoy the moment that we beat Noble, and we beat the charters in Rogers Park. Okay, so we're going to stick mostly to our original program. We want to learn more about charters and neighborhood schools. We want to open the doors to high schools and grade schools and see what's going on in there and how we can support them. And we want to hear from elected officials, get their point of view and what's happening at other levels of government that we may not be aware of. So to start it off, we have Stephanie Farmer, She comes from Roosevelt University. She's assistant professor of sociology for 7 years there. She's part of CREATE. That's a group of over 100 professors that do engaged research on public education and funding. Everybody I talked to here, especially at Loyola, I said, we're getting Stephanie Farmer? And they said, oh my God. I said, you got to bring her here. And so we did. And here she is.
Congratulations, you guys, for your win. Congratulations. And also, congratulations for making it on a 5:30 Monday night when it was raining right before the Hawks game. I can't believe this turnout. You guys are blowing my mind.
Yeah, you don't need a clap, actually. We need to limit that, right?
So I was basically asked to do a Charter 101 for you guys, to let you, to give you guys some understanding about what is the relationship between charter schools and neighborhood schools. To start with, as you may or may not know, charter schools are privately operated schools, but they get 75 to 125% of their budgets from or monies from the CPS system. So CPS basically has a pot of money that's like the general fund, and all the schools are going to pull from that fund. Every time you add a new charter school, you add one more school that's going to be pulling out of that fund. CPS's money is already limited. They've had basically a fixed budget for the last 4 years. So as such, the more schools you have dipping into that pool of resources, the more it's going to be stretched thin across all of schools. But you also have this move towards student-based budgeting that occurred in 2013-2014 school year. With student-based budgeting, what that allowed for was that each student was going to get a certain amount of money that would go to the school. But student-based budgeting transformed the way that the schools were going to be funded so that the money that was allocated to that student could move with that student to another school, such as a charter school. So you have schools like Sullivan that are primarily funded from like the borders. They're an area attendance school, so they have a boundary area. And those children in that boundary area are assigned Sullivan. But if they go to another school, they're taking that money that would have gone into the Sullivan fund and it would go into the charter fund. Charters don't have necessarily the boundary area. Very few actually have a boundary area. Therefore, they can draw from all across the city. So as Sullivan starts to become depopulated, their funds are going down. And we can learn from the history of the relationship between traditional neighborhood schools and charter schools that once you start having a certain number of charter schools that gravitate to a neighborhood, what you see within the neighborhood school is that as some of the children are leaving, and you certainly have a lot of children that are staying behind, when those children leave, the money that goes to that school starts to decline. Now the overhead cost for the school doesn't decline, so what happens with the school? They have to start cutting programs, and they begin by starting to cut like enriching programs that lead to like the professional or skill development of life skill development for children. So they cut mentoring programs, they cut after school programs, they cut AP programs. Everything that's kind of what people might say is extra, but it's really what is part of that enrichment development for children. We can use Diet High School as a good example. My colleague Pauline Lemon's actually done a lot of research on Diet High School. And what you had in Diet is located in Bronzeville, and they've had about like 20 different types of school actions or new schools that were opened up in Bronzeville and what have you. And Diet High School was a neighborhood high school. And what happened is that as Diet became depopulated, they had to start cutting the after-school programs. They cut their boys and then their girls mentoring programs. They cut the AP teacher. They cut gym. They cut a whole like litany of programs. That what it started to do is it denigrated the experience for those children that were in the school. So even when people want to stay in their neighborhood school, the disinvestment that happens in that neighborhood school starts to push people out. So you have this cycle, right, of where a school goes from being depopulated, then it gets disinvestment, then that disinvestment creates the conditions under which people then pull their kid out of that school to go to maybe a more well-resourced school. And then we lose our neighborhood schools because then the depopulation that occurs in those schools become the conditions under which CPS says, oh, you guys are underutilized, and you're so underutilized that it's expensive for us to operate you. We need to close you down, and then your kids can walk 2 miles away to another school. Or your kids can go to those charter schools that are opening up just 2 blocks away, right? So in some sense, we're creating the conditions to create a demand for the charters by closing those neighborhood schools. And, this is, pretty well repeated in this Chicago experience. And I'm kind of well ahead of my notes, so give me a second. One of the things you often hear with charter school advocates is that, they say, well, people are voting with their feet. And they're voting with their feet to go to the charter school. And I'm often wondering, when I'm sitting in the audience hearing that, when people say that, I'm just like, yeah, some people are voting with their feet to go to the charter, but many people are staying in their neighborhood school. So what about the conditions in that neighborhood school? Doesn't that neighborhood school matter? And it's a highly individualistic formulation, right? That, charters are going to provide a life raft for the public school sinking ship. Well, shouldn't we have more of our fight and our effort be in funding well-resourced public education schools for everyone instead of just finding a life raft for those who choose to vote with their feet? Yes. That was rhetorical. And I want to conclude with this. I think the logic, then, it's this highly individualistic logic, is one that's leading us toward creating a 3-tiered education system in the city of Chicago, where at the top of the 3 tiers you have the well-resourced selective enrollment and magnet schools that are pulling the highest performers out of the neighborhood schools. Then you have the middle layer, which is also attracting more average test performers, but they're also, in the middle layer is mostly composed of the charter schools. And they're becoming more and more resourced, and they're actually leading to the shift of resources from then the bottom layer, the neighborhood school, which is becoming disinvested in, becoming denigrated because of the disinvestment. And then also, they tend to have a higher percentage of people with English as a second language needs, severe disability needs, people that maybe have children that have disciplinary problems that were kicked out of the charter schools. The children that precisely need more of the kinds of investments we need to make in schools are the ones that are being concentrated in the schools that we are actively disinvesting in. And I think either as a society, we can go on down this 3-tier model road, or we can challenge this 3-tier model school by school, which is what you guys are doing today. Right? And it's not just only saying no to charters, but we also need to say yes to more funding for well-resourced schools for all. Thank you.
Okay, my Loyola friends were right. Get Stephanie here. Whew, okay, our next speaker, I'm thrilled with all the speakers, comes from Sullivan High School. And, Chad might have a chance to say something later, but right now, maybe not. But what we really want to do is plug into the parents there, and that means into the LSC. And to do that, we have Ms. Venice Hutchinson. She is the chair of the Sullivan LSC. And if that's not cool enough, she has, I believe, both a daughter and a granddaughter who goes to Sullivan. I mean, that's commitment. Okay. So with that, and you've all heard about they really wrote a fabulous letter there that went to CPS and went to Milky and everybody else. And so it's with such great pleasure, I bring you Venice Hutchinson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Denise Hutchinson. I am the proud parent of Kiana Core, and Deja Hutchinson is my granddaughter. I'm pleased to stand here this afternoon to speak regarding Sullivan High School. First of all, let me just say a little bit about Mr. Adams. When we needed a principal for Sullivan High School, I came up and I sat in the front row. I sat next to one of the parents on the LSC board. And I said to that parent, I said, I heard everyone speak But out of all of the speakers, I think I like that man right there. So the person next to me said, why did you say that? I said, because what comes from the heart reaches the heart. So when Mr. Adams got up and he talked about how he was over in the Inglewood area, Hopper High School, amongst just not too many cultures, but just particular needy children. He spoke highly of these children. He spoke highly of the neighborhood. He spoke from his heart. As a mother, as a Christian woman, I know what it is to have true love, and I felt the love in his voice as he spoke. So I said to that parent, that's the principle. So in saying all that, I just have to say that about Mr. Adams. He has proven himself. I don't think I'm the only parent who feel that way. I'm probably a couple of parents here with me. But we all talk highly of Mr. Adams because to have a great school, you need a great leader. He came into Sullivan changing things around. He didn't come in there knowing everything. He came in there talking. He is a great speaker. He's a friendly guy. And upon coming there, he said, whatever you all need me to do, we're going to do it. So he did. So what I want to say today, I have to put my glasses on now because I did prepare a little something. The Sullivan Local School Council believes that Principal Adams has met, in many ways, exceeded our expectation of him as a leader of Sullivan High School. Through his leadership in his first year, we went from a level 3 school to a level 2 school. And we anticipate being a level 2 plus. Sullivan High School graduation rate has increased by 20%. And freshmen on track to graduation is at an all-time high of 90%. Can we say any more? The staff truly believe in the core values of family, integrity, service, and tenacity. The school is now a clean, safe, and warm environment for student learning, and the students are flourishing and are leaving ready for college. I can speak highly for myself. My granddaughter is a senior. My daughter is a senior. It was expensive, but it was all done. Everything that they set out to do in Sullivan High School, Mr. Adder and his team made sure that the juniors and the seniors was on top of doing the things that they needed. So I can say that's a plus in Sullivan High School. We need Sullivan High School to continue to get the resources it deserves to serve all students. We have faith through the school commitment to students and their families that we will reach level 1 in the next year. And what I want to add as I sit down, because my children are graduating, it does not mean that I'm not going to be a part of Sullivan. I said to Mr. Adams the other day, I am busy, but I'm not going to ever be too busy to come up here and give my time that you might need. So you all have a blessed evening.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. And now we move to one of our elementary schools, actually our top-rated elementary school. We have 2 people from there, and the first is Donna Arias. She's a teacher and librarian. I just got to know her, 3 days ago or something. This is so exciting. I keep on saying it's collateral benefits that you get when things look like they're going wrong, and then you get all these collateral benefits, and she's certainly one of them. She is a teacher, a lecturer, an author of a book called Dear Parents, From Your Child's Loving Teacher. You can get that on Amazon or by talking to Donna. Or Queridos Padres de la Maestra Cariñosa de sus Hijos, more or less. Okay, close enough. Anyway, please, she's also my friend Chris and I were over at their International Day just this Saturday, and we were handing out flyers and doing our best with Spanish. And then Donna came up and just kind of took it over. And I thank you for that. So please welcome Donna. Adios.
Thank you for that, and thank you, Betsy, for having me come. When I was asked to come talk to you a few days ago, it was really to give a teacher's perspective as to what was going on in schools. What do we as teachers see, or what as teachers do we need? And before I do that, I need to ask you a question. How do you define your child's success? Please think about that before I start talking. What does success mean to you? What is a successful child? Have you got it? Can I have a thumbs up once you have your idea? Several thumbs up, just a few? Got it, okay. Well, this is the thing. When we start thinking about our child's success and we start thinking about education and public education and charter schools, we get into the thing that we start seeing, especially in charter schools, that everything has to be quantifiable, not qualifiable. And when you start looking at everything that is quantifiable, that means numbers, statistics, you forget what really matters. And for that, I'm going to give you a story, a very personal story. A few years ago, I think it's a few years ago, I was one of your students. I was a student, and if you looked at my grades, I was very lucky if I could pull a C minus. I had dyslexia. I still have it. I'll always have dyslexia. Even with the book, I still cannot fully. I've got ideas, I can understand, I can think, I can do all those things, I can express it, I'm quite verbal. But I cannot pull grades off. College, I barely made it. I don't even know how I got into a college. I did. I mean, honestly, it was like, I remember getting home with a C minus, and my mom was like, you did it. The point is that when you start looking at all those things that we are quantifying, we are not looking at what really matters. And when I look at you as parents, and this is what teachers have asked me to say, because I speak to teachers a lot. Teachers want you to know several things. The first thing and the most important thing is we know you care. We know as teachers that you are doing the very best that you can ever do. Nobody can take that away from you. And unfortunately, the media is bombarding teachers, no matter what walk of life we're coming from. We are getting bombarded, and as we are getting bombarded, we are being told that what we do is not enough. And I am sorry, but that bothers me. It really, really does. Because teachers, I don't care, I'm sorry, my hand shakes because I get passionate about it. Teachers, I'm sorry, we are doing the best we can. And actually, we are actually doing much better than most people give us credit for. We are the one nation that takes the poor and makes them into something. So this is not about teachers not doing their job. There has never been a better group of teachers prepared. We are not getting our dues, unfortunately, because there's people that want to quantify every single thing we do to make sure that we don't do it, or to say that we are not doing it. So as parents, we are asking you to please stand behind us. Stand behind us, because we are doing a good job. And as parents, you are doing a good job. And we need you, because we can. This thing of we are divided does not work. It will never work. I am sorry, we go hand in hand. And the only way for us to get ahead is by working together. So, I am going to ask you, again, I'm going to ask you to look at what you guys do as parents. If what you do as parents did not matter, then I am very sorry to say that when you get up at 7 o'clock at night, you know, and you're sitting down to have dinner with your husband or talk to your husband or your wife, and your child is running around, and you stop doing what you're doing to go help your child, that matters. All those little incidents that you do, that you take, that you become who you are as a parent matter. And it's the same kind of stuff that teachers are doing. Your children are our children. I don't sleep at night sometimes because I'm concerned about your kids. And I know that I'm not the only teacher. And I know that there's some bad teachers because I'm always hearing that, but they are minimum. And they are the ones that are burnt out because they have cared so much. So I pray to God that I never get to that point. But now, as we talk about what you define as your child's success, is success being all those grades and all those numbers and all those statistics? I don't think so. Success is much more than that. Success is looking at your child and changing the way your child looks at things. It's changing at your child and knowing that he is doing his best possible effort and that you recognize that effort and that you are ready to go for him or her and battle as you are here right now. So for that, we thank you. I have to leave you with one other thing. And if you could help me out with this, I need to give you a point of action because as teachers, we do that. So I need to take my glasses, and I will be really quick because I've heard 1 minute. I wrote this book because I really care, and you don't understand sometimes how what you do at home is so influential in what it does for us teachers at school. So I'm going to share my first letter with you. Dear parents, now that school has ended and children are free to enjoy you this summer, I want to ask for your help. Your help is important to prepare your children for next September. It will help them become a better student and adult. The help I need is very simple, and many of you might already be doing it. What I'm asking is for you to sit down at dinner time with your child every night. You might wonder how this helps me, your child's teacher. Well, it helps me on many levels. The first one is that it sets a routine your children can count on. This gives them the gift of stability. A child who feels secure is more likely to succeed in school. The second way it helps is that your child will learn to stay on task. A child who has the habit of sitting down for dinner usually will not struggle as much when sitting in a classroom. This will permit him or her to focus and not distract other students. The third way this helps is that when you have dinner, you will most likely converse with your child. When you converse, your child will learn to focus, which will help him in the classroom. A child who can focus is more able to pay attention and tends to retain more of what is presented and discussed in the classroom. All children are required to participate in classroom conversations and are responsible for active exchanges of information. This skill is necessary at school and in every profession. When you exchange information with your child, you have the great opportunity to see the world through your child's eyes. You can then encourage ideas and provide guidance or correct them if you believe they need correcting or loving encouragement. Also, the exchange of ideas and stories dramatically increases your child's listening and speaking skills. We all know that those who express themselves with ease are more likely to be heard. What many parents do not realize is that the ability to express ideas verbally translates to being able to express yourself in writing. You can only write down what you have thought and heard. The greater number of ideas you interchange with your child, the more you will shape his or her thinking and writing. This exchange will also give your child the opportunity to build background knowledge, which is needed as a building block to learning new information. As a teacher, my lesson on ecosystems is more successful if my student knows what the ocean is like. A unit on nutrition is more effective if students already know the names of different fruits and vegetables. Your daily conversations will help build a background that allows me to make meaningful connections in the classroom. I wish you and your family a wonderful summer full of tasty dinners and great conversations. Lovingly, your child's teacher. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I so apologize for not asking before. I didn't notice people coming in that probably weren't fine with English versus Spanish. If there's anybody, we're late, it's halfway through, but if there's anybody, Donna has volunteered that she can translate, she can stand somewhere with you. Is there anybody that could use that service? Okay. People are good? Okay. Thank you. Una pregunta? Okay.
¿Qué pregunta, perdón?
¿Qué pregunta?
Ok, sí, Spanish, sí, necesita.
Necesita alguien que yo haga la traducción para ustedes en español. ¿No?
Mujeres.
Sí, levanten la mano, con gusto lo hago. ¿No?
No.
Bueno.
Ok, bueno.
Okay.
Bueno, ok.
Está bien. Okay, and now we move on through a little bit more of Newfield. Carlos Patino has been the principal there for the last 2 years. He followed in the very large footsteps of Susan Kilbane and made them even larger. It's still our premier elementary school, although there's other schools here that are nipping at its heels. And with Carlos, I didn't even know him that well before this either. When we heard the news, I told him about it, and you know that St. Jerome's School, where the nobleman wanted to go into, is right across the street from Newfield. And they were like horrified. I mean, this could be like 1,000 kids, many of them in cars, many of them tooling around from different neighborhoods all over the place. And this Newfield is a school of pre-K through 3rd grade. This is not what they need in that neighborhood. on top of the whole question of privatization of education and all the other issues. And as soon as I told Carlos, he was on vacation. It was spring break. And it was like, spring break's over, you know? He was out of town. He wrote this amazing letter to the alderman, like the next day, maybe that night, I don't know. And ever since then has really been fighting tooth and nail to make sure that this wouldn't happen. So I'm so proud to bring you Carlos Patino.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for this opportunity to speak and present to you this evening from the perspective of a principal, a school leader, community leader. My name is Carlos Alberto Patino. I am the principal of Newfield Elementary, located at 1707 West Morse. We have 603 students ranging from the ages of 3 to 9, and our specialty, our strength, is early childhood education, setting a strong foundation so our students have the tools, the skills, and prepared for their future learning. And we're really proud, we are unbelievably proud to serve Rogers Park. Our teachers, parents, students, and community have worked hard since the school's inception to make sure that it's a safe, nurturing neighborhood, keyword neighborhood school, where our students can thrive. We're proud to be part of the Rogers Park community, and I'm very proud to collaborate with the other schools, and I feel a sense of kinship with the other schools, from Sullivan Elementary to Kilmer to Eugene Field to Stephen Gale to Jordan Elementary. I feel a very strong connection between those schools and ours, and I feel a very strong connection with Chad Adams, Jean Papagiannis right there in the back, Adrian Dobbins at Eugene Field, Ashley Peterson at Jordan, Cassandra Washington at Gale. We collaborate because our work is challenging, but we work to make sure that we are providing a world-class education to our students, an education that they fully deserve, and we are making it happen every single day. As was stated earlier, Chicago Public Schools now operates under a per-pupil budgeting system. This is a couple years that this system has been in place, where schools receive a fixed dollar amount for every student that is enrolled. When this came out, this budgeting model forced principals to make very difficult decisions around staffing, around resources, supports for our teachers, for our students, for the community. And it forced us to make some very difficult cuts that it was very difficult to tell a teacher that they had lost their position. It was very difficult to tell that teacher that they didn't have the resources to support their students. It was very difficult to tell the community that we couldn't provide them the tools to increase their capacity as parents. And that was devastating. That, to me, there were many sleepless nights of that per pupil budgeting. And so when this non-neighborhood school idea came up, as Betsy stated, we were on it. We knew that this could affect Sullivan, it could affect Newfield, it could affect Kilmer, it could affect us all, and force us to make drastic cuts that none of us as school leaders, we want to provide our teachers with the tools to succeed. And so luckily this action that we did together, it wasn't just about the school leaders, but we did together. You're seeing the fruits of it right now, and this beautiful meeting and the halting of the Noble School. The hard work of our teachers, our staff, our students, and our families resulted in Newfield being ranked the highest CPS rating, which is a level 1+. And at that time, thank you. But you know what? Our other schools are making those same gains. We are seeing those same gains. We are unbelievably proud of what we do, but we're seeing those same gains at Gale, at Sullivan, at Kilmer, at Eugene Field, at Jordan, because of dedicated principals, amazing staff, amazing families and students that are doing this collaboratively. When this announcement came out, I asked for the support of State Representative Kelly Cassidy, Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, Betsy Vandercook, Rebecca Weinberg, and others to continue to support our Rogers Park neighborhood schools. We felt the strong support of these individuals. Our local school councils were involved, teachers and parents. So in 2002, as I wrap up, in 2002, the community came together to create Newfield. There was a need, and the community came together. The voice of everybody was listened to. It wasn't a decision that was made rashly by one individual. If not, the decision was made collaboratively with the voice of everybody. And if there's anything I've learned in this first year of leadership, which is very difficult, is that you have to listen to the voices of others. It cannot just be a decision made by one. You have to involve all your stakeholders. You really, really do. So now I ask you to continue to support your neighborhood schools. Get involved. Ask questions. Ask for school tours. Get on the ground and get there and support them. Forget about, oh, I heard this about that school. No. Go ask. Go volunteer. Go support, because there are amazing, amazing things happening at these schools. So we've seen what we can do together. I received the email while I was in New York vacationing from Betsy, interrupted at dinner. It's all right. So it was the right cause. Is what she does. But that was 2 months ago. And in 2 months ago, it looked, as Betsy said, like the ink was dry. It looked like this was a done deal, that our say had it didn't matter. But what we've seen is in 2 short months, how we've come together to fight for our neighborhood schools. If we can do this in 2 months, there's nothing we can't do. So thank you very much.
Okay. Hello.
Thank you so much. That was really something. The two next speakers, Heather Staines has been a wonderful friend as well, and was one of the signatories, as well as David Orr, who I see has entered, of Jan Schakowsky's letter. And but she was pulled away. David Orr is right here. David, up, David. And also Kelly Cassidy we're expecting, and certainly whenever she walks in, she will be just coming right up here to speak. In the meantime, though, we're going to take it to our main speaker. I wrote down a few notes about Jan Schakowsky, Congresswoman representing the 9th Congressional District since 1999, and then I just started writing, and champion of peace, of labor equality, of health care for all, and it goes on and on and on. So enough of that. Here's Jan.
Thank you, everybody. Cheer for yourselves. This is a victory party. This is a victory party. Congratulations. This was a real team effort. The kind of coalition that we put together in a very short time. Principals, teachers, LSCs, all kinds of parents and community representatives, and legislators, aldermen, the Cook County clerk. It's just a beautiful group that said no to Noble, and we won. Yes, we won. Well, I'm wearing a lot of hats today. Yes, I'm Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky. That's this pin. But this pin, actually tonight, is even more important. I am a proud Sullivan High School graduate. I graduated from Rogers School that I could just see right down the street from my house, my neighborhood school. Then took the 155 to Sullivan High School every day. And I also taught for a while. My career really began as a public school teacher at CPS. And my mother, who taught for decades, proud union members of the Chicago Teachers Union. And I have always felt that the local neighborhood school is more than just these wonderful educational institutions. These are anchors for the community. My life and the life of my neighborhood really centered around these schools. That's where my friends were. That's where my social life was. That was the place that marked my community as my community, part of our identity. My district now represents New Trier High School, as well as Sullivan High School. And I just want to tell you, nobody would walk into New Trier High School and ever say, well, public education just doesn't work. Yeah. Look around, right? Has all the resources that it needs. Parents are likely to have not more than one job at a time. The kids come from homes where there's technology and books, and the school itself has every imaginable resource that you could think of at that school. Sullivan High School, unfortunately, hasn't been able to use its gym for about a year. Is that still true, Chad? Because the ceiling tiles are falling down because it needs a new roof. Shame on CPS, and shame on us if we don't get that roof. Get the roof. And the what?
And the mold. I've documented mold at CPS.
Oh, mold. Okay. We're going to do it. But I do want to say something. Is it Donna?
Yes.
Donna said that it's not just about numbers, but I want to tell you, we even have the numbers on our side. Charter schools were touted as providing a better quality education. They were going to be laboratories for innovation. But in fact, what we have seen is that there is the building of a parallel infrastructure, not reforming public education, but trying to replace it by privatizing it. And here's the result. Charters in Chicago are not improving education. Chicago CPS neighborhood and open enrollment elementary schools outpaced average charter schools' growth in reading and math last year. The teachers in charter schools, unfortunately, are generally non-union, paid less, and have a much higher turnover rate. Vastly higher rate of expelling students in charter schools. And if you saw that wonderful full page with pictures of Chad Adams, the principal of Sullivan, talking about the dramatic reduction in children being expelled from Sullivan High School and the incidence of fights in the school and behavior problems, really reducing that. Of course, charters kick them out because they don't want anybody who's a troublemaker. They don't give those kids a chance. And so come October, November, after school starts, those kids start showing up at the public schools, at the neighborhood public schools. Remarkably, charters don't have the same requirements of transparency and accountability, though almost all of their funds come from taxpayers. And as a result, we've seen scandals that don't exist in the public system in the charter schools. So it's already been mentioned that every dollar for a charter is $1 less for public schools. And we're going to make a plea today that we own this victory by making personal investments in charter schools. You know what? These charters don't have to relate as much to the community. Intrinsic, this charter school that's now threatening Amundsen, gets a significant amount of its money from the Gates Foundation and the Walmart family. That's the Waltons. Yeah. And actually, they kind of sell naming rights. So one of the Intrinsic schools is named for Bruce Rauner. So if we want to define and also I want a couple other points I want to make. I haven't seen the sign yet. In August of 2013, just 2 months after 49 public schools were closed, CPS opened 15 new charter schools.
Unbelievable.
And they also, in August of 2013, CPS asked for proposals for even more charters. And according to the CPS website, this is last summer, 20% of the elementary schools were charters, and 39% of the high schools were charters. But the CPS budget for current school year reduced funding to neighborhood schools by $72 million and increased funding for the district's charter schools by the exact same amount. So it's a minority of the schools getting the same amount of money that was pulled from our public schools. We're talking about all public dollars here. So we did organize a letter signed by Alderman, worked with Kelly Cassidy on getting that done. So we did our part, you did your part, the schools did their part, and we were winners. And now what we need to do is to commit ourselves to continuing to own that victory by participating in our schools. I don't know if the Gates Foundation is going to come through with a big grant, or the Walmart people are going to come through with a big grant. But there is enough strength and power in this room to make sure that our public schools, our neighborhood schools, our anchors to our community are going to continue to go forward with our help. I mean the kind of participation where you show up, the kind of work where we actually raise some money for the special things at our schools. $1 here, $10 there, $50 there, and we can make a difference. Thank you so much. I'm so happy tonight. It's great to win. It's great to win. Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, we're a little out of order, and I wouldn't wish following Jan on anybody, but I'm going to wish it on Kelly. And seriously, the two were such a tag team. When I first learned about this, I didn't know Kelly that well, and we were talking about a paving issue. Remember? Our paving issue, and I hardly knew you. I said, and Kelly, do you have one more second? I could tell you something. I said, Noble is coming. And she goes, what the? And it was like, whoa, we just made a friend. So with that, I'm not going to go. This is one of the most active, one of the most intelligent, one of the hardest fighting representatives that we have, and she fought Noble not just up here, but then took her time when she was in Springfield to give him some more punches down there. I give you Kelly Cassidy.
I get to follow Jan all the time, and she is an incredibly tough act to follow, but I couldn't be luckier to have her as a partner and as a teammate and as a role model in so many ways. I've been following you for years, and I'm really lucky to follow you in this role. I may not be quite as exciting as she is. I will tell you that right after that conversation with Betsy, and I reached out to some folks and started poking the bear a little bit, because look at this room. Like, we are the luckiest people in the world to represent communities like this. I summoned the Noble lobbyists to my office, and because they had met with others, but I wasn't going to be here. I was going to be down in Springfield, so I asked their lobbyists to come to my office, and I said, let me start with some friendly advice. You don't want to mess with Rogers Park. This is going to be way more trouble than it's worth for you. Trust me on this. And he was like, well, let me tell you about these numbers, and look at this lovely marketing materials. And I'm like, no. I don't care. You don't want to mess with Rogers Park. When I met with them on Friday, they said we should have listened earlier. So you guys did this. You definitely made it not worth their effort. So when they told me that they were withdrawing their application, I asked for how long. Nice. I asked a couple of questions they weren't happy to be asked. One of them was for how long. And if and when you do start to look again, what's your process going to look like? How is it going to be different than the last time? How are we going to avoid a debacle like this next time? So they are open to a better process. They're open to a longer waiting period. What's on the table right now is 5 years, and that's not unreasonable. But it's not 5 years like a ticking time bomb that they're going to come back in 5 years. It's a minimum of 5 years before they even take a look. And when they do come back, they're not going to do it in the way they did. So we've won a great victory there. The second question I asked them that they really didn't want to be asked, because I don't know if many of you know about the second half of the Noble issue. They are relocating a school from the near north side, and they're looking for another location. Right now they're looking at the old French school on Irving and Lakeshore Drive. That application has not been withdrawn. It's just deferred. It's two distinct issues. I have some sympathy for the families in the near north school because they need to know where they're going to go in the fall, and it is a slightly different conversation. But one thing they asked me was, well, how do you feel about that now? And I said what I think Jan would probably say too. Once I join a coalition, I'm in it. Just because I got my win doesn't mean that part is over. But I went on to say, let's pretend you get approval for that. How are you going to market that school? Where are you going to market that school? And I got the face of, oh man, I was hoping she wasn't going to ask. They have agreed not to market to our neighborhood schools. They will not come into Rogers Park to seek students for that site if they get an opportunity to open it. As Jan said, it's time for next steps, because now we've awakened a wonderful beast. This beast shouldn't just be about saying no to Noble. This beast should be about saying yes to the amazing resources that we've brought to bear and what we can do to make our schools even better, even stronger. Feed into what's happening with Chad. You talked about charter schools were supposed to be laboratories for innovation. This guy is doing such amazing things at Sullivan. While charter schools are putting out kids who are a little bit of trouble, Chad's finding a way to bring restorative justice practices into that school, into the community surrounding Sullivan, into our larger community. Because when you learn it in school, you take it home, you take it to the workplace, you take it to the rest of your community. Those restorative justice practices are what's going to make this community better, stronger, and safer in the long run. This is a generational change that he is bringing about at Sullivan, and it is nothing short of evolutionary to change to RJ practices in the school system. Because when you bring restorative justice to a school system, you take the criminal justice system out of those kids' lives. You want to stop the pipeline? Stop it in the schools. And that's exactly what he's doing. I couldn't be more proud that it's happening here and it's getting so much attention. That's not happening in the places that are supposed to be laboratories for innovation. We are doing it here, and we can continue to do it by helping him get the money for the roof, by helping him build the green field that we talked about finding a way to do, by looking at our neighborhood schools, by looking at Gale and finding out what those families need, what that school needs, how we can clean it up, how we can make those families safer and stronger. I'm in. Are you? There's a lot of material that was handed out today about some of the organizations that are around that can help us. But I pledge today to continue to be a conduit for information, to get all of us continue to be engaged, continue to be involved, whether it's a one-day library painting or a year-long reading program at the school, or being a mentor, being a teacher's aide, being a parent helper. We will dedicate a segment of our website so that there's always information about what you can do next if you want to be involved. We will feed that into the school systems wherever you want to be. We want to be the way that we can get this done. This shouldn't end tonight. I'm looking at this. This is amazing. It was a crappy day. It took me 2 hours to get here. And I walked into this amazing room full of just bright, victorious energy. So savor the victory, but don't take your cake and go home. Don't just get riled up the next time a charter school wants to come back. Stay riled up. Be just as angry that Gale is failing the way it is. Be just as angry. Be just as demanding that the right thing be done. Those kids count. And those kids are going to end up at Sullivan. So let's help them now. So thank you all for being here. Don't be done. We've got a lot more work to do, but we did a great thing together, and I thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Okay, I'm just wondering if people would be okay, if Mary Hopkins would be okay if we went a few minutes over? Okay. And if you're leaving for the game, you're leaving for the game. That's fine. People understand? People totally understand? I get it. I'm not wearing red. I get it. Okay. I do want to say one thing. Just bear with me. I do want to thank a few people because it has been a team effort, and we've talked about the principals here. We've talked about the elected officials here, the people who have all spoken, and thank them. And I would like to thank a few other people and then move on to the second part, which it's not going to be the same length, but the second part, which I'm not going to be chairing. I would just like a special shout out to a few people, to Inez, who's behind the video camera. She was also the person who, if you haven't, and actually save your applause for the end, okay? Because we're gonna have like 8 people or something. Okay, so with Inez, she said, we need a website. And on 2 nights, if you've been to notonoble.com, you'll see the website that she did in 2 nights for us. Okay. On resolutions, we had Megan Cusick, Tom Furman, and J.D. Randall going school to school to school to school, including in Edgewater and Westridge, getting resolutions passed. Publicity.
J.D. Randall.
There you go. Publicity press releases. Tom Clark, he can't be here tonight. He's been fabulous. He works on Live at the Heartland as well. Liaison to the 49th Ward Democratic Organization was Esther Mozak. The co-coordinator for this event, Chris Johnson. The 2 most wonderful staffers I've ever worked with, Matt Muir and from Kelly's office, and Leslie Combs from Jan Schakowsky. And finally, my co-host for the evening, Rebecca. Where are you? You're there, okay. And Rebecca was the one who really started off with the No to Noble petition for Joe Moore, and then followed with the No to Noble Facebook page. I'm going to turn it over to her now, and she's going to take it home with questions from the audience. How it's going to work, because we have CAN TV doing this, if you're going to ask a question or make a short statement, and we have a couple of people talking right now, maybe the first couple can come up here. They can only, we can't pass this out. You have to talk into, so it gets picked up by the mic here. So she will be repeating your questions up here. Okay, if that works.
I'm a good parent.
There you go.
Parent.
Okay.
But I think for the first 2 they should come up.
Okay,
For the,
absolutely.
for raise your hand.
Perfect. Perfect.
Oh my goodness, hi.
Thank you.
Can we all give Betsy a huge round of applause? I mean, really. This woman's amazing.
I love you.
And I'm going to go off script for just a second because I was sitting there listening to everybody and I had a few things I just had to get out of my mouth. 2 months ago, I was at a park and I was chatting with another one of my friends who also has a child under the age of 5. And we were talking about things that were going on, and she said, had you heard about Noble? And I went, no. So I went home and I did a little research, and I started a petition. Because I thought, well, that seems like a good place to start. And then I started a Facebook page, because I thought, well, that seems like the next place to start. And I want you to know that I did those, but I have absolutely no knowledge of Chicago politics. Really didn't know what I was getting into, in some respects. But I just couldn't sit there and not do something. I felt like something had to be done. And I really want everyone here to realize that you don't have to know everything about educating children. You don't have to know everything about getting something done in Chicago politics. You have to care. And that's where we all need to start from. You have to care. And if you care, we can go forward. I realized as I was doing this process that I had actually never set foot into either of the 2 elementary schools that are 2 blocks from my house. I'd been in Sullivan a few times. No one can resist Chad, right? But I had never been in Kilmore or Newfield. And so I've had an opportunity to start to correct that. And I have started a group, it's on the sheets, called Neighbors Love Neighborhood Schools. And the idea is that it doesn't matter if you don't have a child in a school system here in Rogers Park. It doesn't matter if your kids aren't old enough to go to school yet. It doesn't matter if your kids have already finished school. It doesn't matter if the thought of having a child scares you to no end and you want nothing to do with it. you can still make a difference in your neighborhood school, and you still have a right to make that difference. So before we go into questions, I just really wanted to say, care and go with that. That's really where we need to go. So, all right. So a few people had told me specifically that they wanted to say a few things, and I had mentioned that I would pick on them first to kind of get the rest of you feeling okay. So Erica, are you? There you are hiding, Erica Clark. Erica Clark is with Parents for Teachers, and why don't you come around, Erica, and let's let her say a few words.
Hi, good evening. It's so fun to be out at a victory rally for a change. I'm with such a great group of people. So our group, Parents for Teachers, was really thrilled to co-sponsor this event. And I just wanted to say a few words. How many people here know who we are, Parents for Teachers? You've heard of us? Yeah, this is a receptive crowd. So we're a group that came together a few years ago because we felt it was important that there would be a parent voice standing up for teachers. I really felt what you were saying. We were tired of the abuse that teachers were taking, being blamed for all the problems in our public schools, and we felt that we really needed to stand up and support teachers. And, as parents, I know I see a lot of parents here, we do a lot of things in our own individual schools to support the schools and to support the teachers, the bake sales, the making copies, the field trips, all of that. But we felt it was important to take it to the next level and to have a voice that would be out there politically supporting teachers and saying, teachers are not the problem. The problems here, we know what they are. They're privatization, their lack of funding. They're having an education system that is being run by people who aren't educators and by people who think educators don't know what they're talking about. So I just wanted to really say I supported so much what you said. And the key thing that I took from what you said and that I always try to say is that, the Rahm Emanuels, the Bruce Browners, the Bill Gateses of the world, they would like nothing better than to divide parents and teachers. Because they know that if parents and teachers and students and people in the community like everything that just happened in Rogers Park, they know that that's something that they can't reckon with. They know that that is a force that is something that will be very difficult to defeat. And, were you going to say something? Vanna? Oh, yes. And so I think we were talking about taking this conversation to the next stage. We won this great battle. We beat Noble for now. But they're going to be in another neighborhood. They're going to be looking for other, neighborhoods that aren't as organized. And, this is a fight that has to keep going. And one way I wanted to just call attention to that we can continue this fight and support our schools, support neighborhood schools, is by supporting the current demands of the teachers union. As everyone knows, well, as you all probably know, the CTU's contract expires at the end of June. And they have put forward a platform in their demands that really calls for the things that we all want in our schools. Smaller classes. There's a school on the south side that has 40 kids in kindergarten. That is unacceptable. Art, music, librarians, nurses, counselors, social workers. They're calling for a moratorium on charter schools. And these are the things that I think we all agree will help boost and advance our neighborhood schools. But they're not going to win those things without all of us taking to the streets and making some noise and saying, this is what we as parents and taxpayers want for our children and want for our communities. So everyone knows about the big rally tomorrow. Everyone should be down there at 5 o'clock at the Thompson Center. And we will be organizing over the summer and into the school year ways to bolster the teachers and to bolster their demands, because they unlike most other school districts and most other unions in the state, the board of CPS does not even have to talk to them about class size. They don't have to negotiate over any of these ancillary issues. So it falls to us to make those demands and to give them the power and to give them the leverage to try to win that. And I think if we could get some of those, classroom issues dealt with in terms of a legal contract, that would go a long way to solving some of the problems that our neighborhood schools are facing. It may not fix the leaky tiles, and that's obviously something that we all have to be concerned about, although they do have a demand for safe and one of the demands is safe and healthy working environments. I think that the mold and the leaky tiles would kind of be covered by that. So it is something that's all inclusive, and I just can't urge people enough to really take a stand for that.
Thank you so much, Erica. The next person I'd like to call on to give comments from the floor is actually with raise your hand, and that's Tim Furman. If you could come up real quick, Tim.
Hi, everybody. I am not a public speaker, so give me some love. I get nervous in front of crowds. I'll be brief. Listen, one pleasantry. God bless you, Jan Schakowsky. God bless you. You're running the country, and you come here to help us out in the neighborhood for neighborhood schools. God bless you. The thing I'm proudest of in my life, I stood behind you in 1998 in a parade because I wanted to be behind you. You're running for Congress, and you've been behind us for 16 years or more or whatever it is. I love you. You see that? God bless Kelly Cassidy. She always does what's right, not just what's popular. God bless her. God bless her. What a resource. God bless you, sir, Mr. Orr. You're a beacon in this community. God bless you. Wendy Catton sent me here tonight to apologize for not being here. She's co-hosting this event and a fundraiser over on the other side of town, which I'm going to drive to right after this. Come join us. Raise Your Hand is a group that gets bigger every day. We don't have meetings. We just get things done. And I invite you to come join us. In fact, I will be standing wherever there's a breeze over there after this meeting with the notebook that I've lost. If you want to join an activity we're doing Saturday, we're going door to door Saturday morning. I don't have the details yet. We're going to make it up Friday night. We're going to go door to door and canvass the neighborhood on that other noble proposal on Irving Park Road. We're going to meet the neighbors. We're going to tell them what's going on. We're going to get them on board. And please come join us. I'll be right there. And there's a question. I'll repeat it into the mic. Go right ahead. Do you have a question? Oh, you're awesome. And I'm going to be very, very quick. Hey, get one of our flyers here. It's all about the charter proliferation. If you applied the school utilization formula that CPS used to close 50 neighborhood schools, if you apply that formula to the charter schools in Chicago, there are 12,637 empty seats in the charter schools, and they keep opening them. That's got to stop. It's not responsible. It's got to stop. So help us stop that. And finally, my ask. If there is an emergency, since we have a victory here, let's use it as one of the, who's always saying it's a crisis, use it, whatever. I don't know what that expression is. Listen, there's an emergency up at Gale. I can't phrase it any other way. So will you come join? Some of my friends will be over here. The great Jim Jendersky is over there. The great Diana Barrick. Here's what's going on in a nutshell. What we're finding really recently is that the network that Gale is in danger of losing its summer school program. Like right now, that's 100 kids north of Howard who have signed up for challenging summer work who are going to be locked out and on the streets in the summer. We cannot have that. That's an emergency for our community. There's a petition started. We're going to get some more people together. There's been a small group of people that's been fighting for Gale like bulldogs over time. We need more people. We need help at Gale. We're a community, and Gale needs a lot of help right now. So that's where we're going to be. God bless you again.
Okay, so we're running dangerously close to the 7 o'clock hour, and I know we'll lose our TV coverage there. There's a young lady in the back who has a question, so I'll let you go first.
Okay, this is not a question. I'm from West Andersonville. We need everybody here to talk about, be aware of, publicize the threat that we are having in terms of intrinsic trying to take over a big part of the land in the cemetery at Foster and Western. The fight is not a fight in one neighborhood versus another neighborhood. This has to be a unified fight where we're all in it together. So I would urge you to stay and join us tomorrow at the Thompson Center at 5.
Wonderful, thank you. Do you want to go next? Right there in front? Go right ahead.
Would you like to speak into something?
Just go ahead and say it, and I think right now they're hearing it okay, so.
My name is Shelley Gordon. I live in the 40th Ward. I do echo what was said, but my question is this. How do we end the morally bankrupt student budgeting process that was spoken about so that we get budgeting back to where it needs to be?
I think it's a great question. Is there anybody on our panel who wants to answer the question? Unfortunately, I just realized that half of our panel has had to run off on us. It's a great question. Unfortunately, the elected school board is a great answer.
Other than that, because that's too long term. We got to find a way other than an elected school board. That's too far in the future. We have to end that way of budgeting, and somehow that's going to require citizen action.
You know, the student-based budgeting came into realization when CPS signed the Gates Compact. So the Gates Compact is going to give CPS $40 million grant, in part to set up the conditions to make charters successful. So CPS gets $40 million over a certain period of time, and in exchange, they agree to opening up 60 new charter schools and to switch us into the student-based budgeting thing. So, yeah, so for like pennies, because, CPS's budget is about $1 billion or more. And in exchange, we have this kind of institutional reforms. So at some point, yeah, we have to have the ear of somebody who's got the ability to. I don't know if the Gates Compact is a contract. That's the problem with these privatization ventures, is that we get locked into a structure that we don't necessarily want in the long term, but because we sign that dotted line, we're fixed there for 20, 30 years. And it takes away our democratic ability to transform our public systems.
Well, I would just go to Gates. I would just
go to Gates. Good luck with that.
You got money. I would just suggest we look at the legality of that particular Gates Foundation grant and get a legal team put together to see how we can undo it.
Right. What's the problem with being the moderator who can't answer the questions? I feel bad. In the pink hat, yes, ma'am.
So so you said you didn't know much about Chicago politics.
Yes, I didn't know anything about Chicago politics, I'll be honest. Okay.
So my question is this. On the other Noble proposal that's supposed to go in Lakeview and will affect all these high schools, have an impact on something like 8 or 9 high schools. Mm-hmm. The aldermen and all the electeds came out against it. So in Chicago, normally when the alderman says he doesn't want it or they say they don't want it, it does not happen.
Right.
So I'm wondering why this is, or what are the chances of this not happening because of the way Chicago politics is supposed to work?
Okay, it's a great question. So the charter school, is it not going to come because the aldermen are saying no to it? That's the quick for the folks at home. Anybody up here want to tackle that at all? I don't think we have an answer. We have another question, and
you see the little girl in the back?
oh, there's a young lady in the back with a question. Yeah, you know what, honey? Come on up. It's okay. You were saying that the library was your favorite class. Okay, I love it. By the way, that young lady goes to Kilmer School. I know that.
But she was with me last year.
Oh, okay.
She was my student last year.
She was your student last year at Newfield. Okay, I gotcha. I do want to take one quick second. We're about to lose the over-the-air time, and I wanted to give Chad a chance to say something because he is such a wonderful speaker and he's done so much for this community. So let's take a moment for Chad.
Thanks, Rebecca. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chad Adams, the principal of Sullivan High School, where we believe in family, integrity, service, and tenacity every day. I want to make sure I mention that this is a victory, but I'm old enough now to know that it's just a re-strategization of Noble and figuring out where they're going to go next. So it doesn't stop now. We have to stop the intrinsic thing in Anna's backyard. We have to stop the one lake. We have to. And we are the Raise Your Hand parents. We're putting together about 10,000 postcards. They'll be printed tonight, or they're probably printing right now. I can smell them. Can't wait to taste them. And we're going to get those out. I believe the LS is the way that we're doing is getting the LSCs to bring those and sign those when you see them. Please sign them. We're going to have a press conference on June 18th to be determined. Keep your ears open because the board agenda goes on June 22nd, goes post June 22nd, and then they vote on June 23rd or 24th, the Wednesday 24th. So just want everyone to be aware. I just want to say thank you. Betsy, oh my God, she lost her job because she spoke her mind. That's a person that believes in something. She took her livelihood out of the equation. So I don't know where I am with God, but God bless you. He's got some problems with me right now. And I want to say, Jan Schakowsky, since the day I met you, we always have breakfast every other month or so, and it's just always a pleasure to feel your energy and your warmth, and thank you for supporting me as the leader of Sullivan, and thank you for the leadership you provide to this community. And I just want to leave you with a closing thought. You know, I tell the kids all this phrase all the time, and maybe they think I'm crazy, but I say it anyways. That you have to see the future before you are the future. And that's our catchphrase at Sullivan, we are the future. And I can see the future. When I was an English teacher in Farragut High School, you know, I started seeing myself as assistant principal. I started seeing myself as I walked down the hall. You know, I was just a little English teacher, first year English teachers in 2000. I saw myself as an assistant principal. When I was an assistant principal and I saw 27 kids shot and 8 killed in 3 years at Harper High School, I started to see myself as a principal. And then I became a principal. And so I tell the kids that all the time, and I tell them, you know, you're here, we have a nice medical program, but you need to start thinking about yourself at the hospital, helping that person that's dying. You need to see yourself we have a business program at Sullivan. You start seeing yourself at the corporate offices downtown. And when you're making those decisions, that's what you see. Because if you can see the future, you are the future. And tonight, for the first time, because this is the first time I've been above 290 in my teaching career and my education career, above 290, usually on the south side. It's the first time that I've now seen the future of Rogers Park, and that you all are behind neighborhood schools, and we can do this together, because I've seen the future with you. Thank you.
Isn't he amazing? He really is. You know, and we've talked a lot, and we've had a hashtag No to Noble, but I really do feel like we can also have a better hashtag, and it's Sullivan Strong. We can all get behind that man in that school and what we can do. And since I don't know anyone in Chicago politics, I don't know who's who, but evidently this young man in this beautiful blue shirt is going to come over here. His name is Marty, and he is with the CTU and can answer a question that was asked earlier. So here you go, Marty.
I'll just keep it real short. Since we have an appointed school board, maybe we should call them and tell them how we feel after this meeting. The phone number to Jesse Ruiz, the CEO of CPS, write this down, text it, put it in your phone, pens out. Ready, class? 773-553-1500. Interim CEO Jesse Ruiz. Tell him that you do not want any charters in Rogers Park, you do not want any charters on the north side of the city, and you want a full citywide charter school moratorium for as long as we can do this, because we deserve high-quality, neighborhood, fully funded, sustainable public schools that have local school councils and are supported by all of our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Marty. I hate to do this because we got great questions, but I know we're all going to stick around and talk a little bit more afterwards, but we have to call the official meeting because we've gone over. So to wrap it up, I do want to say real quick, on your agenda, we gave you some resources for further action. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group or check out our website. It's actually brand new, so it really just is a placeholder right now for Neighbors Love Neighborhood Schools, but we hope to get you more information on how to be involved in your schools. Tim gave you great reasons to join Raise Your Hand. Erica gave you great reasons to support Parents for Teachers. I would say keep educating yourself. We're talking about our children's education. Let's educate ourselves. Go online, read things. be voracious, find what information you can. I remember watching YouTube videos from the school project, trying to learn what exactly was going on. Just keep asking questions and keep volunteering and keep being involved. And like I said before, go with your heart and lead and do what you can. That's really all we ask. I'm so proud of everyone. I'm so proud that we won. And I can't believe how many people are here today. So, and I'm gonna do this without crying. So I love you all, and let's go Hawks, right?